Welcome to the NeuroVerse. My name is Matthew, and this is my story.
Hi there, everyone, and welcome to the NeuroVerse. This is episode 2 of my husband Matthew, who has both autism and dyslexia, and I'm his wife Helena. I'm going to be his very lovely interviewer today.
Wonderful interviewer.
Wonderful, brilliant interviewer.
I have to say that she feeds me
I do.
very well.
I love how we're exactly the same size as we were 20 years ago. This
Yeah,
is
no change at
growing
all.
love.
Yeah.
Right, and today we thought we'd kind of start at the beginning. So going back to Matthew, the early years.
Yeah.
The early years. So really just wanted to kind of dive into kind of you growing up, going through the school system, and even then going through kind of your early kind of experiences with work, like higher education and things like that, and really just understand, well, or is it kind of thinking about it, how you didn't really understand yourself at those points in your life and how you had to navigate those institutions and systems and what challenges you faced, what things you have learned and built on from that, and yeah, how that's kind of developed over time. Yeah.
Okay.
It was brilliant times. I know that you
Yeah, I love thinking about this. But it's important.
It is.
It is important. That was my attempt at sarcasm. I don't like thinking about this.
No.
But like I said, it is important because through each of these stages of my life, there's been challenges, there's been successes. But yeah, I've had a. If I go to start with education, I went to nursery, played with blocks. I don't remember this, but I've seen a photo once of me touching some blocks and doing this. So assuming I played with blocks. And I went to a primary school, and I changed primary schools. We moved, and I can remember the last day of my first primary school, and I was made to stand on a dinner table chair for people to say goodbye to me, which was lovely because again I came from an area where kind of our parents knew each other. So, and I was in primary school with these kids I was in nursery with, so we had like a good friendship there. And luckily enough, I met some of these people again back in high school. And I remember starting the new primary school, and it was a good school, as in kind of the reports and everything else. But it was difficult. I think I'm going to try and be as respectful as I can talking about this because the school system, what it was when I was in school, is completely different to what it is now. I mean, that was 30 years ago.
We also went to quite strict Roman Catholic, quite hardcore schools, I think, actually, at the time. Like, I mean, both me and you were both.
I did have a nun in my school.
Yeah. Yes. Completely different time now, isn't it?
I mean, unfortunately, she was no Sister Mary Clarence from Sister Act, but she was, her name was Sister Karen, and she was lovely. She was actually my favourite teacher in that primary school. And there's a common theme as to why. But through primary school, I was labelled kind of naughty. I was labelled kind of lazy. Class clown was something that kind of carried on for a lot. In looking back at my old school reports as well, it was very much a case of he knows it, he just won't write it down. It's crazy that. And I remember our school had an inspection as well, and so for those that aren't aware, it's when where we're from, there's a series of inspectors that go around and check the schools, and then they give a school a rating. And there was a number of us that was sent to the library to re-alphabetize the books. Which, first of all,
great for somebody with dyslexia.
Yeah. I mean, First of all, like, you can think of something better to get rid of the naughty kids. Don't put them in charge of putting books away in the right order, and on top of that, dyslexic kids as well. Yeah, great. By the way, if those books are still not in order, it's not my fault. Um, yeah, so that was primary school, and there were some teachers I got on with, some I just kind of got on with, some that I just did not like at all. Um, and there was one teacher in particular, like I said, Sister Karen, who was absolutely lovely, and she shares a common trait with one or two then from high school. I joined high school, and again, very similar story. The thing is, I like school. I enjoy learning. I enjoy learning about different things. I think school, the way school is structured, especially when we were there, is not suited for boys very well. Really, that's just my personal opinion. Don't hate me for it. Don't come lynch me. But yeah, I don't think it's suited really for boys very well. But it is what it is. But I tried, and I was very quick to kind of stick my two fingers up to, not literally, but very quickly to kind of stick my two fingers up to people and say, well, as soon as they started writing me off, wrote me off, I was very quite quick to write them off, and not really care, to my own detriment in the end. But yeah, I had teachers that really, they didn't care about my outcome. They cared about my effort level. And as long as I was in their class and I was trying as hard as I could, then they weren't asking any more of me. And they were wonderful individuals. And my head of year was one of those people as well. Obviously, they care about whether you pass or not. I'm not saying that, but it was very much a case of, you're trying your best. That's all I ask. And there was other teachers then that just didn't care. Being completely honest, that's my personal opinion. I'm entitled to it. But they just did. I just didn't feel like they gave a shit. They were quite happy to make sure that their shining stars got through, and if you were one of them, you were one of them. Uh, it's at no surprise I left high school with not very good marks, having found to be dyslexic in year 10, which was halfway through my GCSEs, when all through my school life, I was in special educational need classes with no kind of diagnosis around me. And then this new guy kind of comes in, and I was in anger management classes in high school, and he just took an interest, and we used having conversations, and he then saw a pattern, and he said, oh, maybe I think this kid could be dyslexic, and he put me forward for an assessment, and I had my assessment, so I then had extra time in classes, and I had this little weird keyboard thingy to help me type, because I could type faster than I could write. But by that point, the list of people that I could go to for help was really, really short. Kind of damage was done, relationships were damaged, whatever. And there was just some people who just didn't care. And
I was going to ask, with the anger management classes, was that something that was referred by the school, and did you find that in those classes they did help at all with, not knowing that you had autism at the time or the dyslexia, but did they provide any sort of supportive coping mechanisms which actually, on reflecting, would have actually been helpful, but just sort of inadvertently? I don't know.
Not really. It was kind of, so in the school we was in, it was all separated into different blocks, and there was a block. And basically, the anger management thing was essentially, they gave you 3 red cards a week that allowed you to leave a classroom for 15 minutes if things were getting a bit too much.
Right.
Once a week, you would go to a block. One of your lessons would be replaced with a session where basically you'd be in a room with other kids with anger management, rather than, it's no one-on-one kind of therapy time or trying to talk about your problems and trying to discuss coping mechanisms. It was just it's just bunch of people in a room that
Who
was
couldn't emotionally
pretty much,
regulate very
and
well.
we
Just
were
putting them in a
already there.
room.
They were already like annoyed and frustrated at different
Yeah.
things, and it just turned into shouting matches, not with it against each other. It was a case of, it was like something would happen, and like, oh yeah, that person's a dickhead, and it was not really a healthy kind
No.
of thing. But yeah, it was.
In
It
fact,
was.
that they thought
Yeah.
that would be a good way to help people with emotional dysregularity. It just blows my mind that
Yeah.
that's what they kind of termed it as. In that kind of,
Yeah. So I have my 3 red cards a week. That and the thing is, I genuinely I used them as they were supposed to be used, but even then, you had like teachers that were like, "Oh, I saw that coming." It's like, oh well, you're not making it an environment that is helping me want to learn. You know, you're belittling me, you're putting me down and stuff, and it's like, well, great. And then you had other teachers again that was great. They were funny, and you know, they tried to have a laugh with you. They treated you, yeah, you're a child, but they treated you like a human as well. They know, when because when you're in school and you have boyfriends and girlfriends and all the other stuff, it's the most important thing in the world, and they almost know that that's big to you at the time as well. And those are good teachers. I had a lot of time for them. Yeah, so I left high school with not great qualifications, and while I was in high school, I was in the Air Cadets, because I had an interest in the military, and we had an Air Cadets thing on site. So as part of the Air Cadets, I left school. Joining the military was something that I was interested in. So I joined the Military Preparation College in Cardiff, which prepares people to help them get into the military, helps them buff up their qualifications. So I undertook training in the morning and classroom in the afternoon, and I thought it was brilliant. For me, it was I knew exactly where I needed to be, what I needed to be. I had goals I had to try to aim for and work towards. I some of my school friends ended up going to there as well, and people I knew. So you know, it wasn't completely unfamiliar. It was brilliant. I managed. I did things I never thought I would do. I've trained on Royal Marine bases. I've been to RAF bases, naval bases. It's amazing.
It's great that you love that kind of construct of the military and that kind of regiment, but I guess it's a completely different environment to like the regiment of school. It's almost like they're both two kind of institutes in themselves, but one of them was more, one of them related more to you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's
again though, it was. I got on better with the physical exercise aspect of it than I did the academic side of it. I didn't end up joining the military. My funding ran out for the college that I was in. So you were fund for so long. My funding ran out, so I left the college, but I didn't end up joining the military because someone I was in college with was deployed and was killed in action. And when you sign up to join the military, you know that that's always a possibility. But from my understanding and my recollection at the time as well was that some of the equipment that probably could have saved their lives was still at a base in the UK rather than where they were. And for me, it was quite difficult to reconcile putting your life on the line for a country when they're not willing to give you what you need to try to make sure you come home. That was my experience at the time. I'm not saying that's the experience full and through and through. And just to let you guys know, I'm not going to keep caveating everything I'm saying. It's just my experiences. I know people that have joined the military, stayed in the military, and people went in and come out. People joined, dropped out. You know, I think anyone that puts their life on the line for their country should be respected for doing that. But I don't think our countries necessarily respect them after they've done that. I think that's they're owed a far greater debt than what they end up coming out with. But that's just my opinion. Yeah, so I did that, and then I just worked. So I've worked in nightclubs, which
was in quite a graft, haven't you? Like,
yeah.
You've never.
There's not really been a
No.
time when I've been out of work.
I've always been doing stuff.
So I've worked in nightclubs, which was difficult with the noises. But I bought myself earplugs. I worked in nightclubs that played music that I enjoyed, which is always a bonus, and it meant it was okay. And I also worked in places where I worked around people I knew as well. So it wasn't a case of I was, again, in an unfamiliar environment with people I didn't know. It was people I knew. Even when I was glass collecting at the age of 16, I was doing it with some of my friends from school. It was I've done that. I've been a labourer. That was great because I was just given a job to do. It was if we need to go away and the brickies need cement, go away, make sure they got enough, make sure that area is kept clear, make sure this happens. This stuff needs to get burned. This stuff needs to make sure you take it from there and take it into that skip. Keep that walkway clear. It was great. It was brilliant. But again, I had to learn sarcasm a lot then because of the jokes and things being said on site.
I even remember them before, like even when you've been doing some of those jobs, then literally in your spare time, then you were doing like martial arts coaching and like even like with every spare moment, you were like doing different.
Yeah, so
different jobs.
Yeah, I'll cover martial arts in a bit more detail around kind of hobbies and interests because it is a big part of my life and has been for a very, very long time. But yes, even in my spare and actually there was a time, because this will come up as well, of how gullible I am and how I take people at face value and kind of how I get hurt used to get hurt so easily as well. I was on site where I was doing lagging and insulation. I was on site and someone was like, "Oh, you I'm thinking about getting my kid into martial arts. You show me some stuff." It was boiling hot summer's day, and I was doing some stuff, just being gullible. And it just so happened that two people that my dad knows was on site as well in the van, pissing themselves laughing. One of them, which I play with online very frequently, every now and again decides to bring it up for a bit of a laugh. And yes, I look like an absolute twat. but I was gullible, I was just being, it is what it is. Everyone does silly things,
especially when they talk about your major passions and interests.
Yeah,
I think it's something that you just resonate with.
Yeah, and so I did that. I worked for the National Autistic Society, by far the best job I've ever had in my life when it comes to job satisfaction. And yeah, that opened my eyes to a number of things. And I used to work in a place which had 3 non-verbal autistic adults, so I had to learn a lot of analyze, and that helped me kind of analyze it and look at, to pick up on minor things, which was great. And then every now and again I'd have to go and work in a day centre where people would bring their children, and that was good because again I was able to, well, it's part of why I probably ended up leaving as well. It was emotionally draining, but I was also finding on those days in those centres I was getting involved as well. I was like, oh my god, this feels amazing, this type of thing, and oh my god, these lights are great. But yeah, so there was that job. I've managed a martial arts shop. As I said, martial arts is a big part of my life. It has been on and off for a long time. I've needed to stop because of my back, and I've managed to find somewhere that I'm working with to kind of achieve some goals. I've worked in telecoms. I've done the 999 service. That was interesting. Hearing some horrific things as well, and hearing how some people cope with things was interesting, and it helped me kind of it kind of really desensitized me to a lot of things. When you hear the things you hear as a 999 call handler, it does desensitize you quite quickly. Because people only ever call 999 in an emergency. So if you're watching from America, it's our 911. But yeah, so dealing, you hear a lot of horrific things. It desensitizes you pretty quickly, and you also develop a very dark sense of humor from it as well. You have to kind of, we definitely used humor to kind of deal with some of the things we were listening to.
Yeah, I remember.
And then I got an admin job, and again, I'm not going to mention any companies I work for specifically, but I will say that every proper company that I've worked for, they've all had good and bad. And there's good and bad everywhere, and there's some good managers, and there's some managers who want to do a good job but can't, and there's some managers that love to hide behind processes, policies, and procedures, and that's fine. That's what they're there for to make sure everyone's treated the same. I don't necessarily personally agree with that, and that's something I would like to explore in a future kind of specific episode. But yeah, it is what it is. But as an example, there was one person, Julie, in the last company I worked for, and she's still the person that I have. It's called the Julie interview. She's the one that did the Julie interview, which is she offered me the job there and then afterwards on the spot. It only happened twice, but it's still called the Julie interview. And going into that team, she knew I was dyslexic because that was what I had diagnosed at the time. She printed off. She said she gathered a load of information. She made sure that it was pertinent to myself, and then she cascaded that amongst the team and said, Matthew's joining, he's got dyslexia, this is what that means, this is what it could look like, because we were dealing with incidents and stuff. And she was one of the first people as well that was really wanted me to be unapologetically me. She really wanted me to kind of, if I saw something, tell her, escalate it, kind of. Sometimes she definitely wanted me to make sure I read it past her first so that I didn't cause chaos or word it in a way that meant she was going to have an interesting phone call. But yeah, she was absolutely phenomenal, and she's someone I still keep in contact with. Probably not as much as I'd like to, but yeah. And again, she was one of the people that when I told that I was autistic, I had my diagnosis, she knew I was going through bits and pieces. Her response was, "Yeah, I could have told you that." It was. Yeah, she was an amazing woman. Yeah. So, and you have good and bad managers. She was by far the best, and she was someone that when I ended up in a management position, line manager, she was someone I took a lot of inspiration from of what good looked like. I also took a lot of what bad looked like from people as well. So, there's a lot of kind of reframing. You've got to make sure that kind of you're taking learnings from things. And I've found myself again in a different organization in a role where it's more about facts than feelings. So someone can turn around and say, "Oh, I think it's this over here. I got a gut feel it's this over here," but I use actual data to kind of prove that, and if someone's got a feeling that something's wrong, well, why have you got that feeling? And I do that kind of investigation piece, and I like puzzles, but I like dealing with the black and white. It's very much it either is a problem or it's not a problem. And kind of the way in which I phrased it before is kind of acting as that critical friend to the business, as kind of that person that has no agendas other than to tell the truth.
So if you were gonna with your autism diagnosis, then if you were gonna say I'm gonna say number 3 because it always seems to be the number that comes. So 3 things that it's given you in jobs that is kind of an asset that makes things that you are specifically very good at, probably because of your autism, but then counter that with 3 things that actually are more of a challenge or hindrance, or give you a negative perception because of your autism? Could you maybe give like some examples of one and some examples of the other? Because I think it does. I think it provides strength, but it can also provide yourself challenges, but also can look differently to other people.
Yeah. So like I could say that the one thing that's a strength is being objective. You know, I can look at a situation, as long as I'm not directly involved in that situation. That's a really key thing as well. Because if I'm in that situation there and then, and I don't know if I've overstepped, I don't know if I've said something that hasn't landed very well, I have no idea. Genuinely, I can't work it out. However, if I'm removed from that and I'm looking at it, I can analyze the situation quite well. I even with yourself, you know, I've not been able to attend certain things where you've gone to, and I've been able to accurately predict where people were sat in the room just trying to work, because the perceived power players kind of in those situations, in like friendship groups or like family events and stuff, I'm able to accurately predict where people have been sat, who reacted to what, who was saying what, who was behaving, you know, and because I can see it, I can analyze, I can work out what's going on.
Yeah.
So being objective and being honest is an asset. On the flip side of that, though, if someone doesn't want honesty, or they want a version of honest that fits a narrative they're trying to put across, if you don't do that, then you're seen as difficult or rude or not a team player. You know, yeah. So yeah, and another one would be kind of my analytical skills. That is an asset. But on the flip side of that, if someone else is really passionate about something, and I'm not saying that the data is king or anything like that, but you know, but people need to move more towards data-driven decision making, because it's knowledge. But that doesn't mean to say that people who are subject matter experts, that they kind of know their areas inside and out, but they just don't have the information to kind of prove it. They can it's almost like they feel threatened that I'm questioning their knowledge on the subject, and that's not the case. It's just, you're telling me one thing, but this is telling me something else, and that is difficult for me to compute and comprehend in my head. So yeah, those are like two examples I can think of. I don't think I can do three. Sorry. Yeah. So that's pretty much me as kind of my from a school and kind of work history kind of experience type of thing. I try to frame everything as positively as I can. Although some people, when they see me, I'm not a very positive person. The reality is that by that point, I'm absolutely exhausted and drained. Because in all these scenarios, like I mentioned in the last episode, you know, you put your hats on, and it is, you know, you go to work, you come home, you're a partner, you're a parent. By the end of the day, you're shattered. Imagine putting more hats on top of that. Then everything you've had to do is just being done to make someone else feel comfortable. It's a ball ache. It really is. Yeah. So I try to frame things positively. I have to, because of the various conditions I've got, including my back. Because there's always someone else worse off, and you know, it's very easy to dwell and spiral. Which I know we're going to cover in another episode. But I know that because we wrote the episode titles together. Ding. Try and add one of them in post-production. I'll try. If it's not there, I failed. Thanks. But yeah, that's kind of me. You try and take positive experiences, even from the negative experiences. You know, you've learned something that didn't work, or you know of something you shouldn't do again in the future. Someone treats you like crap, right, I'm not going to do that to someone else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's me.
Amazing.
I am, and I.
Make your head bigger there.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. But yeah, so thank you again for doing the questioning.
It's okay.
I feel like I'm being interrogated. And thank you again for watching. If any part of this story has resonated with you, please mention it below. If you've please like, share, comment, bell icon, all of those wonderful things. It'll really help. We're doing this to try to raise awareness, and to try to give people a voice that haven't had a voice before. So I hope this has helped. Thank you, and we will see you in a future episode.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks. Take care. Bye bye.
Yeah.
There we are.
Yeah.